Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Paranormal Podcast. Again, Sean is taking a little time, just just a few weeks off. So, with us, we have some lovely guests, Seth and Connie. Seth, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm solid.
You doing solid?
Doing solid.
What about you, Connie?
Doing good as well.
So, if someone has not heard about you in the paranormal community, Connie, how would you describe yourself?
I would say that I'm very ambitious and adventurous. Like I always try to have fun and laugh it up a bit, but also
Mhm.
I know when moments are serious to take a pause and help others out as well.
Gotcha. And then what about you, Seth? How would you describe yourself as a paranormal investigator for everyone?
Um, I'm not very good at asking questions when it comes time to ask questions for like using the spirit box and that. But I don't know. I just like to have fun. You got to enjoy the experience.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't know, but Connie's been a part of technically like two teams?
Yeah, two teams.
And Seth, you're just a part of one team, correct?
Yeah.
Unless you're cheating on your paranormal, which is totally fine. But today we have a wide range of different questions and different topics. But let's just start out with last night. Apparently, you two went on an investigation together, Fairfield Infirmary. Um, what were your first impressions of the building? We'll start with Seth and just go to Connie. Okay.
Well, it was a really impressive building. The size and I mean the interior was phenomenal. It's just really neat to see how they built those older buildings. I mean, it had the original ceiling inside, and I mean, you could see it was a little worn down, and it wasn't, like upkept, which just added to the whole experience. But
Yeah.
it was really impressive. I mean, even on the outside, a lot of space.
And then what about you, Connie? First impression of Fairfield Infirmary?
Well, my first impression was I drove past it because I wasn't paying attention I was paying attention to the road and not to the buildings, and I had to turn around. And I came back, I was like, oh wow, this is really what it is.
That makes a
And
lot of sense.
I walked in and I was just like, what is this place? This is spooky.
Yeah. It was actually wild for me. Just rolling up, not knowing. I mean, the place was huge, not knowing where to park, and just going like under like the parts of the building, going, "What's going on?" And then we see our tour guides looking at us, and we're like, "But," and of course, we have Dr. Czar here, um, awesome on the treadmill, and the finest guests, ooh, ever had. And hi, Gloria. Hope you're doing well. I hope Florida was amazing. Um, so I guess is this the largest investigation that you've ever been on for Fairfield, Seth?
Yeah, it's definitely the. I would say it's absolutely the largest building. The second one being the investigation we did at Middle Point School in Middle
Mm-hmm.
Point, Ohio. Well, it was something like what, 25,000 feet,
Something like
roughly.
that. Yeah.
There was like what, 4 or 5 floors.
Yeah.
Really big building.
And then what about you, Connie?
I wouldn't say this is my largest for size and group, because back at our old team, Brian, we had the one investigation at Moundsville that place is just huge. That's a
Yeah.
whole city block, and we had 20, 30 people on that one. But that for this current Your Paranormal team, it's probably one of the largest investigations I've done.
Yeah. Now, what as people want to get started on their paranormal adventure or even growing their existing ones, they're always looking at different investigators because everyone does something a little different. Seth, you have like 5 investigations under your belt. Connie, gosh, you got to be like 30s, 40s, somewhere around there.
Yeah, around
Um,
the 30s.
okay. Now, it's, I'll just say Seth and Connie. Well, we'll just keep going in that order. What is unique about your investigating style, or like what is that unique factor that you bring on investigations?
I just kind of come out. I just want to come at it with like I don't want to say like a relaxed approach, but you got to go in there and have fun. You got to, just be confident in what you're doing, and I don't know, not like be afraid or anything, because they're, they feed on that energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Connie.
Sorry, my cat is distracting me. He's walking around on the counter in front of me. But what was the question again?
You've been on 30 investigations, and whether people are trying to start their paranormal adventure or grow, they're always looking for inspiration or people that do things maybe a little different. They could pick different pieces up. What's different or unique about your investigating style, and that you bring like value add to the team?
I say like I bring in a lot of fun and joy. It could be like being in like a dark place for hours on end. Like you could go a little bit thoughtless a bit and go like get stir crazy a bit, just sitting in a dark room or exploring a dark place. So like having like those funny jokes, those funny moments, and bringing those in helps lighten the mood and bring in like a more enjoyable experience.
Okay, now, and one last round robin here. There's a lot of people that haven't quite made that jump and did their first investigation. What kinds of advice would you give someone, whether it's courage or any kind of advice, to actually go on their first investigation? What kind of like words of wisdom would you give them?
I would just, there's a lot of excitement around it, and I would say there's also like a lot of angst, like worry about, something absolutely wild happening to you. But you got to remember there is only so much energy that like a spirit will have, and it really won't. There's no worry for any harm coming to you. You just gotta, like I said earlier, just kind of be relaxed. Go in there with some confidence. There isn't any worry.
Yeah. What about you, Connie?
To reiterate what Seth said, like you don't have to worry about anything. But you're gonna have a greater chance of winning the Mega Millions than having something harmful happen to you on an investigation. So you just got to go in and with that mindset of this is a one in a lifetime opportunity. You just got to go for it. How many other chances do you have to tell people, hey, I went on a ghost hunt?
Yeah, and that's kind of the big thing. At least I think. Hi, Becca. Again, hope Florida went well. Um, and hello. So, Seth, well, we'll just start with Connie just to reverse it a little bit. What's a topic of the paranormal that's always interested you? That's always been thought provoking?
So, topic in the paranormal, I would say like dreams, like sleep paralysis is kind of interesting just because like it's only happened to me in like haunted locations or supposedly haunted locations, but
Yeah,
also like just like the history and like how the energy of like the spirits at the haunted locations like stay, like how does that happen, how does like the how behind all of the paranormal versus like what's actually happening. That's like what I'm interested in. And
gotcha.
then
And then
also
what about
Bigfoot and like and also skinwalkers, Bigfoot and skinwalkers in a broader sense of paranormal.
yeah? And then what about you, Seth?
I would definitely say more alongside like the history and what the place has actually gone through and how some of these spirits would come to be there, what experiences they had, what caused them to stay. at the location that's actually being investigated. I'm real big on the history of like what happened at that place, and I'm real curious about the experiences that these spirits would have had.
Yeah. Now let's get kind of deep into Fairfield. What and we'll go with Seth. What kind of history did you have that you found from Bravin or the tour that you kind of saw glimpses of during the investigation itself? Do you
Well,
remember any? Go ahead.
well, there was a lot of, I don't want to say necessarily negativity, but you could definitely feel that there was like almost some sort of darker energy going on
Hmm.
the top floors of the building itself, because it
Yeah.
was. I mean, they called it a dungeon, and there was there was a room. I think it was the third floor, or the fourth floor. I mean, it had an iron door on it. I mean, it was almost like a jail cell, sort of, and you could just kind of feel, just being in there or around there, that there was just some negative things that happened there.
Yeah, like I could literally just imagine being like chained up there because there were chains. That's wild. What about you, Connie? What kind of pieces of the history of the Fairfield Infirmary or Fairfield County Infirmary did you learn from Bravin or the tour that kind of you got to see glimpses of when you were actually investigating there?
So while investigating, like I had like that constant like feel like in that entire area of like something's just not right, like something just doesn't seem like normal here. Like it just had that off vibe to it. It's just like you could feel that negative energy throughout.
Hmm.
But something that I found different was like in the morgue, it seemed like there is less energy or presence there versus like in the dungeon area or some of the other rooms that would be like more of a hot spot where like people were like actively like living at versus like the morgue where people were just doing their job more or less there.
Yeah, I I thought that um, just just learning the history from the tour and the different like I wouldn't say feelings, but just the different atmosphere from floor to floor. It felt completely different. Whether you were in the room with the like the showing room with the casket, uh, and then you just travel like 20, 30 feet to the morgue itself. I mean, that's crazy. And then you just go up a few floors, and there's that weird dungeon area with the chains. I mean, if you guys haven't checked out Fairfield County Infirmary, it was our first time last night. Um, what would you rate it? Like out of 10, like a 10 out of 10 would be a must. Where does it lie out of 10 and why?
I would absolutely give it a 10. It was a lot of fun. It was really neat. There was a lot of, I would say, emotion, like just being there. There was a lot going on, and you could really feel the energy that was being released from the place. And I mean, there's just a lot of things, a lot of people that like came and went through this area, and there's a graveyard behind it where they said there was over 1,000 people buried, and I don't know. There was just so much activity. The location itself was absolutely beautiful, and it was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Definitely my favorite one.
And then what about you, Connie?
I would also give it a 10 out of 10. It was just so much to do there and it was so much fun being there and getting to experience all the different, like how you said, Brian, like there's like all the different floors and all the different rooms even within the floors. It was just such a big place. You can have a different experience in each room if you were looking for that.
Yeah, we all here have to give a big shout out to Adam Kimmel here. Fairfield County Infirmary was absolutely amazing. Um, we've heard about it for months now. We actually had the opportunity to go yesterday, so this weekend it was fantastic. Um, Definitely 10 out of 10. Even being outside, checking out the grave areas, some of the smaller buildings, that bus was insane. If anyone's a fan at all of American Horror Story, actually having that school bus from the show there. is just nuts to begin with. I know we had Brian Cunningham on there, on our team, who was just shocked that was the real thing. Like he just thought we were kidding. Like no, this is the real deal. I just there's so much room for activities, and the place is so big. I mean, we had it from 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. and that's a huge blessing because that gives you time to plan like dinner for the teams. It allows you to have time to set up the static equipment. Just overall, it was phenomenal. I think we've been to in like the last few stretches of time. It was a lot of investigations where it was ambiguous, like when the end date or like the end time would be. So we didn't necessarily have to get out of there by 4 or 3. We kind of just investigated until we got tired. But I felt like we were trying to squeeze as much as we could in this investigation. And as it was wrapping up towards like 4 a.m., we wish we had more time. Um, and I don't know if it's because we broke it up with a lot of different activities there, but it was a really good time. Um, for anyone who is thinking of the Fairfield County Infirmary, um, you should definitely do it. I think it was $500 for 10 people, so it's 50 a pop. And even if you have to save for a few months so your team can go, it's definitely worth it. Um, what's your top 2 recommendations for like hot spots, like where to go and what to try at Fairfield Infirmary? Go ahead, Seth.
I would absolutely say the top floor of the dungeon. I feel like everybody had some level of experience there, even when we were in our smaller groups, and even very late at night, where it was like 3 o'clock in the morning, and everybody was up there. We still had a bunch of activity on the very top, and I want to say it was the third floor where there was a lot of. It was the same floor with the like the holding cell almost. I wouldn't even call it a room. But there was a very dark room that had no windows or anything.
Mm-hmm.
You could just sit in there and you just feel, sort of the emotions that whoever had lived there had experienced.
Absolutely. And then Connie, top 2 tips or pieces of advice or hotspot areas, like where, what areas and what should they be doing at the Fairfield County Infirmary?
I definitely like the very top floors, similar to Seth, like the top 2 floors. First off, the dungeon area, you can get a ton of like EVP responses on like the spirit box. Hopefully, our evidence review for the audio recorders comes out great. You hear a
Yeah.
lot of like knocks and walking and stuff. And then on the floor below it is also pretty similar. That doll room on that floor is pretty creepy. And then, like, any room you go into, there's going to be something happening on that floor.
For sure. For me, it's got to be upstairs, way at the top. We're hearing some weird noises. I was there by myself, doing a quote unquote solo run for like 8 minutes. Man, I was hearing some weird whispers, some weird shuffling around because I thought people were up there. Uh, they were not, and just that weird sigh breath kind of deal up there just wasn't good. But there was I think it's the floor below that. Yeah, it was the floor below the top one, where we were just hearing these loud bangs, and I think that was attached to um, the second doll room. So it would be like when you walk in and then one floor up. So not at the like top level, but it's like the third floor if you don't count a basement. That's definitely the other hot spot. Kind of go towards the middle of that area so you can like right up the ramp just so you can hear everything going on. Um, it's just wild. I just something about that area, the feelings and the sounds, whether they were small, gross sounds to like large bangs. Fairfield kind of had it all, and that's something seldom that you find because paranormal investigating is kind of like fishing. Sometimes you get nothing, and sometimes you catch a big fish, and I think that's what we found when that doll fell. Um, and we're gonna take a quick moment here and just elaborate on why it's so important to have static cameras, um, and especially if you have static live cameras, which I thought were stupid, but they're absolutely so amazing. Um, Seth, kind of walk us through what was going on with one of our dolls and the static cam at Fairfield.
So we ran a cord up, had a static cam in this doll room. There's all kinds of children's dolls. There was a little crib with the doll. I mean, toys everywhere, and there was one of those plastic horses that like a child can get on and has like springs and everything. And we had set up, I believe it was 4 dolls. It might have been 3.
Yeah, 4.
But anyways, we had one of them on the back end of the toy horse, and you actually set it up there. And you were jumping around right near it, bouncing on the floor. Nothing happened to it. But later in that night, I was up there with Brian and the group.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny because we all walked in there, and it was like right when we were walking in to set up all the tech and the flashlights to start like asking questions, and it just fell. And I had my flashlight on, and it's so weird. As soon as I turned my flashlight off for just a second, it fell and it was on the ground, and we wouldn't have caught it without that static cam because none of us even noticed it, and we were all in the same room, 10 feet away. It was wild.
Yeah, that absolutely was insane. And you guys were confused, like why it was on the ground. So then you ended up pulling it back and showing us. Connie, what was your reaction when you got to see that on the live static cam that Bravin was able to pull back?
I thought it was amazing that we were able to get that like on the camera. Like it was so cool just to see that again. Like we have Brian, me and you had a similar experience at another location.
Yes.
And sadly we lost that footage. We have like a recording of it, but just having it on a live static audio and having like everybody be there and be able to witness it, like we didn't even know. Like everybody was just like, oh yeah, someone knocked into it.
Yeah.
And we saw in real life, like debunked it 100%. Like it just fell.
Something's wrong for sure. I'm gonna actually try and pull up the video for us real quick. But is this I mean, for Seth and Connie, is this kind of like one of the best pieces of evidence that we found so far, or that you found in your paranormal career, or what do you guys think?
It's definitely, I would say it's for me. It's the number one. I'd never even imagined that there would be enough energy coming out from something like that to actually like move anything or knock anything over. Obviously, the number 2 for me would be when we were at the middle point and Brevin actually took 2 photographs, and then the second one you could actually see the outline, of something that wasn't there a moment before.
All right, I am. Oh, and then Connie, what about you?
Yeah, I would say this is definitely probably the number 1 piece of evidence I can think of right now. Like just having that, like all my other pieces of evidence were mainly just like intelligent responses, like oddly specific intelligent responses for like from like the spirit box or knocks or something. So this is definitely something cool.
Yeah, I love the fact that, and I don't have the video of me setting all 4 up and then jumping around on it, which we'll get to, but eventually. But this is the actual clip of when you guys walked in the room and it falling. So
in there because none of us noticed it was on the ground until like we were done. I even picked up the doll from right next to it, like afterwards. No one noticed.
Flashlight on and we didn't see it.
No.
How
It happened right when I turned it off. Oh, you
It's
turned
right
it off.
Oh, Seth.
Oh my god.
Yes. I'll show it one more quick time. So one of the 4 dolls, and we had someone gave me that doll, and we actually saw them on Saturday. They got to hold that doll. Maybe it's just coincidence that that's the doll that fell, but if anyone knows me in the paranormal field, I'm very anal about this stuff. I set it up. I jumped up and down. I made sure that it wasn't going to go off. And this is what happened. So they just walk in the room, and everyone's just about to get situated, and it randomly falls. I'll show it one more time.
In there because none of us noticed it was on the ground until like we were done. I even picked up the doll from right next to it, like afterwards. No one noticed.
Flashlight on and we didn't see it.
No. It happened right when I turned it off. Oh, you
It's
turned
right
it off.
I just love Seth's reaction. I also had that same reaction, but I don't know. Do you guys remember your first investigation? Connie, do you remember your first investigation?
I do. I remember that. It was the fall of 2016. Wow, I can't. It's almost 6 years.
Yeah, and this for everyone. This is kind of like a little bit like trip down memory lane / motivation. If you haven't gone on your first investigation yet, and maybe you're looking for that extra edge, we'll go around and tell our first investigation and kind of what it was like, and why it was so impactful, and that kind of like kickstarted our paranormal adventures. But go ahead, Connie.
Yeah, so that first investigation was at the Bisman building in Mansfield, right? And Brian was the team leader of that investigation, and I was on his team. And we split up into like 2 different teams within like the big group that we had there. I think there was about 10 people there.
Yeah.
And it was like, if you just took like the main section of Fairfield where it just goes up and down, that's pretty much the size of it. It was like 4, 5, 6 floors, something like that. Pretty narrow building, but had like a lot of different rooms and areas to it. So you would be able to like easily split apart on the teams. And like, I went in clueless. Like, I've seen like some of the ghost hunting shows. Like, I was just like, we're not going to be provoking. Like, that's what the number one thing Brian said. Like, we don't like ask the provoking questions like the TV shows. He's like, it's not like the TV shows. We're here to have fun. We're here to like laugh and enjoy the time, but also like learn about the place and learn to like start our paranormal journey, because it was full of other new people who were there on their first time.
Yeah.
And so just going in there without like no idea of like what I was going along. Like Brian was like, go in that dark corner over there. And I was like, okay. And now I'm like, ooh, I don't want to do that. I'm seasoned enough to where I can say no, but I still do it anyways.
You
But
still
back
do
then,
what?
I still go in the dark corners sometimes.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that one bit.
But back then, it was just so much fun, just like going in with a new, fresh mind, not knowing what was going to happen, and just being there for the experience itself, and not just necessarily trying to like get a ghostly response.
Yeah, I went to a comedy show, not this weekend, but last weekend, and the way that our good friend Nick put it was like, you almost kind of want to like get into a trance of what they're trying to do. Like, don't be so stingy where like you're not going to laugh at anything. Like, have some leniency, be open to everything, and then just get in that mood. And that's kind of what like the paranormal is. I feel like if you go in there extremely grounded, uptight, nothing's going to happen. But if you're more relaxed and you can open up and you can open like your quote unquote third eye, that's where the magic's going to happen. You're going to start to hear things, see things, feel things, and you're going to get a large chemistry going with your team, and it's just beautiful. But just being open, just like Connie said. And, if you're not having a lot of interaction as a big group, then maybe peeling off and doing some, small area, like, moving the people to like smaller areas or spreading out. Maybe the spirits will want to communicate with you one on one. And that's so important to be open enough to be open and have enough courage to do that. Just so if the spirits do need your help, they can communicate with you one on one. Seth, your first investigation. What's it like? Where'd you go? What's going on?
My first investigation was at the Middle Point School. I had actually never met in person with anybody in the group.
That's true.
Everybody. So I mean, there was a lot of anxiety behind that. I was just worried about like what would happen, and if I would perform like whatever task I was with, operating a video recorder and things of that nature. But it's such a friendly and like welcoming environment, and it's definitely something that you should just make the step to get into, because you're really just gonna enjoy it no matter what happens, because even if you don't see anything or experience anything, you get to learn about the history of the actual location that you're in. I mean, along with that, you're just gonna.
Is that a cat?
Yeah, that's my cat. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was like, what is that noise?
You need to investigate my apartment next.
I know. I'm like, I'm already in investigation mode because we had 2 back-to-back this weekend, and I'm just hearing this weird noise. I said, we can't be doing that. I'm sorry, Seth. You can continue.
Like I was saying, I mean, it's a very welcoming environment. You're gonna like, even if you don't really experience anything out of the ordinary, you're still gonna learn a lot about the location itself and the experiences that you're gonna have. You're just gonna take those with you. It's definitely worth getting into.
Yeah, and I didn't know what I was getting into at all. My first investigation was Mansfield Reformatory. Definitely a huge blessing there. The fact that we actually, huge place. I mean, most people, they go and do like a private residence or I don't know, even like a smaller investigation. But Mansfield is like the cream of the crop when it comes to Ohio. I was just blessed to pop in and just ride along that adventure. The role I think I was just an observer. That was back when our old group had photographer, EVP tech, recorder, camera operator, and nothing. Just an observer. Um, I really don't know what I did. I think I went around with an EMF detector, and I went and tried to detect EMF levels. But that's all I did for the um, Mansfield Reformatory. But it was crazy because they showed us places like behind the showers where, supposedly people were hanging people, the solitary confinement. I think it was the first rotation ever, and we were splitting off in pairs in the solitary confinement, and there was an odd number. So you better believe your boy sat by himself in a solitary confinement cell for his first rotation ever. And when I sat down, it was as if, how like normally like your eyes adjust to the darkness? It was getting darker. I said, this is not this is not right. This is not cool. I felt like something was definitely paranoia or something, because it was my first ever rotation too. Like, hey, sit down. I guess someone's gonna ask questions. I'm gonna sit here afraid. Uh, but it just got darker outside the cell. It got darker inside the cell. Like the corners of the cell got darker. And it was like, I'm paranoid. There's probably like, I felt like there was something right in the corner there. I don't know. Like I can't look at it or else it'll get worse. So I just waited patiently until someone said, Brian, do you have any questions? Can we leave? But, um, you know, everyone's going to remember their first investigation. The biggest tip I have, which I wish I did, was start a paranormal journal, write everything down. If you really start to fall in love with the paranormal field, like we did and we are, and you're gonna hit a flow state where you're gonna blink, and you just had your first investigation. You blink and you've done 5. Or you start in 2016, you blink, it's 2022, and you've got over 30 investigations under your belt. If you could go back in time and write down, even if it's a paragraph or a page, on what the investigation was like, what you felt, all the fun and memorable things that happened, the people that went, you'd have a beautiful book. And that's the biggest thing for like people just starting out or people looking to grow their adventure, their paranormal adventure. You gotta get a book. You gotta start like some kind of notebook in any capacity that you can. Just start writing stuff down. It like you don't need a fancy $400 portal. You don't need a $200 REM pod. You need to just start journaling. That's the biggest thing. But I don't know. What's I can't believe it was 2016 when you started, Connie, and I can't believe, Seth, it's like you just went on your first investigation and now you have legitimately 5 under your belt in like less than 3 months. Everyone here is absolutely jealous of you because you're lucky. In some people's case, you're lucky if you do like once a quarter or like 1 or 2 a year, and you're out here cranking it. I mean, you're a madman.
Mm.
What kind of roles? I know like we have. I guess I'll just save that. Fairfield was great. What was the moment, either before your first investigation, or during, or maybe your second or third, that like it clicked, that you started to realize that, wow, I could do this for the rest of my life, or this is like a hobby or like a passion of mine that I could see myself doing? Because I can only imagine, like, Seth is rolling up, and again, just to paint the picture, I don't know, I have a flashlight in my hand. It's the investigation flashlight. I'm just trying to paint like the picture for everyone that like Connie signed up for a paranormal investigation in college. She shows up with a bunch of people that she barely knows, and we're driving, get to see Dr. Zard at his house, so friendly, and then pops off at the Bisman house. There's like almost like a huge mob outside, a giant street fight. They like split the seas like Moses. We go in, they continue fighting. We get inside. I mean, the place is huge, it's crazy. You don't know everyone too well. And then Seth has never met us in person, doesn't know anyone. He's committing himself to sleeping at the haunted location. He doesn't know what's going on. So how did you two, like, what was the moment that clicked where it's like, okay, this is cool, and then like where was that final moment where it was like, wow, I could see myself going on more of these, I could see myself doing like these for like a good few years of the rest of my life? Seth, do you remember that moment?
Yeah, well, it was sort of two things, one kind of leading into the other. Again, first arriving there, the building was large, it was very dark, there's like nothing around, and I'm meeting people that I've never met, and I was super nervous about that. But again, like the community, the people that are actually in this and do this, they're so welcoming. So that was kind of a big thing for me. And then, after, like, that kind of gave me some confidence in what I was doing, and we got into this room at this school on the upstairs where there was a giant mirror and things, and we set up a flashlight test, and we started asking questions, and nothing's really happening, and all of a sudden they ask, like, are you here with us? And the light turns on, and I'm like, no way. I was like, that's just a fluke. There's no way.
Yeah.
It turns back off, and they start asking all these questions, and they asked like, "Do you want Nick to leave?" And the light would turn on. He was like, "All right, I'm out." And I'm like, "This isn't happening." I was like, "You guys are playing a prank on me." But then it kept going, and I was like, "All right, this is the real deal. I am in this." I was so excited. It was nuts. It was so much fun.
Yeah, those moments, like a lot of people are like, I don't know if I want to get in the paranormal. What if something follows me back? Maybe it's not real. The biggest thing is like just again be open about it. I can't I can't speak for every other group, okay? Just because I know that at least our group is like your paranormal is like a controlled group because well that I run it, but I can't speak for any other group. But the amount of fun we have and the amount of quality people and like so many different wide ranges of people and the crazy evidence and experiences we have at each location is across it's just across the board. We had our good friend Drew's sister come on one of the investigations this weekend, and she's like, I don't know if it's real, maybe it is, I'm kind of scared, what if something follows me back? I said, girl, come on, you will be a-okay. And I saw the moment we were in a classroom, and this was just Friday. We were in a classroom, and we had the two flashlights, twistable flashlights. So you turn them on, and you turn them just off. You place them down, and you tap on it just to make sure that there's no physical interaction. We'll turn it on. We set up two of those, and we had like a portal that sometimes would turn on and say words, but sometimes just go radio silent. It was the strangest thing. And for some reason, she was in a wheelchair. It just happens like that. It definitely her idea. And we were asking questions, and sure enough, after like 8 minutes of what seemed like nothing, you could almost feel like a atmosphere or mood shift in the room. And then you've got the flashlights turning on, and she's losing it. You guys are messing with me. Stop messing with me. And then the portal came on and started saying stuff, and now she gets right up. It's just immediately gets up, and she's there was a moment where I wanted to leave, just to have less people in the room, and she said, if you don't want Brian to leave, turn the flashlight off. And I was, or turn the flashlight on, and I was right about to leave, and the other one turned on. And to me, that's kind of cool because one is maybe, is it a faulty flashlight? But now they're both going off. And then outside of that, those flashlights didn't go off unless it was in that room. And it was just so crazy. And then after that rotation, she was like, I can't wait to tell my boyfriend. I can't wait to tell everyone that I know. No one's going to believe me. Like, even the video, like, you had to be there in the moment. It's like, that was the click I was waiting for. I was like, we got her. I absolutely know what that feeling is, Seth. But Connie, 2016, do you remember, I don't know if it was on the first investigation or second, third, etc., when did it click for you that you were like, wow, this is pretty cool. I kind of want to go on more investigations and continue my paranormal adventure?
Yeah, so I don't remember specifically when or where it happened, but I know like at some point, like around like my third, fourth, fifth investigation, because I did a private residence a couple times in a row, and every single time we went there, it was still different. Like we would get different answers, different responses, but it was still very consistent. Like it was consistent but different. I'm like, you could go to the same place 10 times and get something different, have different experiences. It could be completely dead one night, like no pun intended,
Mm-hmm.
or there could be so much activity a different night. And like it was during that time frame where I was just like, I can keep doing this and have a different response like every single time. Like I'm not going to be sitting around in a dark room talking to myself for hours on end for every single investigation. I'm going to have something happen. And again, I'm with like quality people with a good group. people I can enjoy the time with as well, and share the experience with.
Yeah. So I always loved scary movies and all that stuff. I grew up on them, and when I went to Mansfield, it was a really cool experience. Definitely like a unique and different experience. It was my second semester of my first year in college. I was like, okay, that was pretty cool. Kind of like if like a random person who's never been on an investigation walks in and does like a flashlight tour. Okay, and that might give them some kind of confidence or like, oh, that was a cool experience. But like sometimes they just do a flashlight tour and that's it. But for some reason, they were persistent. Oh, come on, man, you need to go to another one. And it was a big steamship in Cleveland. I said, okay, come on, man, I'll go. So probably about the second investigation, and actually when I checked the itinerary, because I actually found it in one of my emails, I remember that night being 8 hours, and I'm fairly certain we only investigated for 3 hours, like 3 or 4 hours. That's when you know that it was so jam-packed. We had tour guides on the steamship saying, we know the ship like the back of our hands, we've studied it. There should not be these noises coming from the ship. There's something wrong. I heard footsteps above us, and it was crazy because like we started out, it's kind of like sunsetting, and then throughout the night, or I guess throughout the investigation, it just started to get darker and darker and darker, and it was wild because you would come up on top of the steamship to like move back and forth from like areas for rotations, and it just got darker and darker, and it was such a surreal experience. And then after that was Farnham, so like it was like a gradual thing for me, but somewhere on that steamship I was like, this is so cool, and there's like so much to it, and the curtains haven't been peeled back to me yet. It was just kind of, I was invited to go, I go, they tell me what to do. I went from having no roles to being the EVP tech and the recorder at the same time. And I was trying to record what other people were experiencing and what people were saying on the spirit box. And then I had to think of the question at the same time. It was like the first time I had a role and I had both of those at the same time. It was wild. That actually reminds me, like, did you guys know that the flashlight could actually do this?
It says in my new book,
The doors kept opening.
you should trust your instincts.
Go for it.
This is crazy, isn't it?
That's right, Seth. It's the time of the podcast, the Into the Abyss section, where we ask you 13 fast-fire questions. You got to answer them as quickly and as thoroughly as possible. Seth, we're going to start with you. Are you ready? Are you excited?
Exhilarated.
All eyes on you, my friend. Okay. Number 1. Can cats sense the paranormal?
Do cats? Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Why?
I mean, they stare up into corners and start meowing, and there's nothing there. Come on. They're seeing something that the human eye can't see. They can sense that.
Okay. How would you describe the afterlife?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I'm blown away. Like I was not expecting that at all. I mean, I'm literally speechless. I have no. I don't even have the slightest guess. It's beyond human comprehension. If you ask me, it's not even something that we could understand, even if we tried.
That's a good point. Now, everyone's got their own like favorite pieces of paranormal investigation equipment to use. So, besides your senses, what's your top 3 pieces of paranormal equipment that you like to use?
I think the number one for me is definitely the flashlights, because I feel like on every investigation, we've always had something, happen with those. It might just be a little bit of a luck thing. You might go and not have any interaction with the flashlights, but it's like it's really cool just to see the energy be able to be, kind of thrown and flow through those flashlights being turned on and off with, nobody anywhere near them. I would say number two is definitely the spirit box because it's really cool to have like your questions answered, get feedback on the things that you're actually asking, and kind of have like a positive reinforcement that there's someone else in the room with you. And then I think the third thing would be our portal box where it's similar to the spirit box, but it's on like a loudspeaker so everybody in the room can hear it. I think that one's really neat too.
Okay. So you've done 5 investigations. What's your favorite investigation and why?
Definitely the Fairfield County Infirmary, the one that we just did last night. Absolutely incredible. Not only was there a lot of activity there, but again, the building was beautiful inside and out. There was so much area to explore. I feel like we could have easily spent another 3 hours there, 3 or 4 hours, and we still would have had so much more to look at, so many more places that we could have sat down and ask questions. And again, it was just a lot of fun. There was a lot of positive energy coming out of there. It was very exciting, a lot of fun.
Yeah. Now, how do you deal with the anxiety of like a new place and new people when you go to paranormal investigations?
Well, I mean, it's one thing to be nervous about going to a new place, and I mean it's very understandable. But again, you kind of have to go in there with some level of confidence because, and like excitement. Like you got to be glad that you're there because they can feel the energy that you're actually putting off. Because if you go in there all scared or like overconfident, you might not get as many positive responses that you would be hoping for versus like going in there trying to have like fun.
Yeah. So, typically we have 5 paranormal investigation roles: the photographer, the EVP tech, the recorder, the camera operator, and the static tech. What's your favorite investigation role and why?
I would say that we have to leave our cell phones at home base or completely turned off. And I think that's very important, especially with like how we function today. I mean, think about it. You've almost always got your phone in your hand. Even you might be watching TV. You'll still just pull out your phone and just look at it. And not bringing with you not only keeps you from like being distracted from like the moment. It also helps with like reducing the interference that you might receive, whether it be through the spirit box or any EVP tech that's out there. It definitely it brings you closer into what's actually happening, and I don't know, that's my favorite rule.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. That is actually one of my biggest rules because having your attention on the team is very, very important, and just separating yourself from that. But what about like a role, like an investigation role, like a photographer, EVP tech, recorder, camera operator, static tech? What's your favorite role and why?
For me, it's kind of a toss-up. My first investigation, I did the camera operator. I recorded everything. I had a lot of fun doing that. And I've actually done it twice. It's really enjoyable because you can just kind of you feel like you're just capturing memories and you're able to like take them and like save them and like view them later. I think that's really cool. But also, I've also really enjoyed the actual like the photographer role. And I've kind of wanted to do that more ever since Bradman got that one photo that we have from the Middle Point School, the actual, I mean, it was caught on camera. The spirit was caught on camera. It was really cool. And I've kind of wanted to do that role a lot because I was hoping like I'd get a cool photo like that to be able to say that I did that.
One day.
One day,
Let's see here. Okay, if you got to create a haunted doll, what would it look like and what would it be called?
If I had to create a haunted doll, I would make it like the lower half would be like a teddy bear body, but the top half would be like a dog head, and I would call it Steve.
You call it
I would
Steve.
call it Steve.
Oh my gosh. What's your first ever paranormal experience?
This goes back to when my parents had their first apartment. I think it was like roughly 3 or 4. So I don't really remember a whole lot, but my mom swears up and down that place was haunted as could be. I mean, the faucet would turn on full blast when nobody's in the kitchen. She saw things running through walls. My toys would be played with when there's like no batteries in them, and the lights and everything would be turning on them. It would, that's so, but like I said, I never saw any of it. I absolutely believe her, but like that was also kind of one of the things that jumped me into it because she told me about that, and I was like, I got to see this for myself.
Yeah, that's absolutely gross. um, what's the number one key to success in the paranormal field?
I would just go back to confidence, have some level of confidence, don't be overconfident, and just be ready to have fun. Don't be disappointed if you leave with nothing because, again, you still get the experience of the location, you get to learn about the history and what people before you had experienced there. It's just, I don't know, it's very cool all around.
Yeah, now, whether it's an investigation or just outside, what's the scariest paranormal moment you've ever had?
Scariest paranormal moment. Um, I don't really know if I've really had a frightening moment. I mean, I've had some moments that like startled me, but I really wouldn't say that anything like frightening has happened because I've always kind of been in the only group that I've been with has it's always like it's calm, like the area around you. I mean, you're having fun, so like even if something wild happens, like you're sitting there and you hear footsteps like 10 feet away from you. I mean, it might spook you a little bit, but it's like I got my buds around me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. If you had to create a new paranormal investigation role, like photographer, EVP tech, etc., what would it be?
A new role. Um, I don't I don't know if I could really think of anything that's new because I feel like we have like it's just like really well rounded. We've got the recorder, we've got the photographer, the camera operator, just a bit of EVP, and the person that's initiating the questions. I mean, I would have said like having someone like run around and set up the static cameras that are just constantly recording, but I mean, we have that.
Yeah.
Uh, so I mean, I don't even think I have the slightest idea of what new thing we could add to it. I feel like we've got it all right now.
Yeah, and not like a scary moment, but like in terms of like your favorite investigation moment, maybe like something super memorable. What's the most memorable experience you've had on an investigation?
It would be a toss up between what happened last night, seeing the video footage after the fact of the doll being knocked over while we were all in the room and nobody even saw it. Like I took a photograph of it on the ground and I was just looking back at him and I was like, that I don't think that was there. That and then my first moment where the flashlights turned on back at Middle Point School, just seeing that for the first time, where the lights were just turning on by themselves, almost by themselves, and I was just so blown away from it, and it really just had me hooked, and I just wanted as much as I can get. I haven't, 5 investigations in 3 months. I still want more. It's so much fun.
More.
More.
And here's number 13. The paranormal field is full of unanswered questions. If you got to have one question answered, what would it be?
I would want to know how long a spirit would remain, not even like not even just like at a certain location, but like how long are they there?
Yeah.
Um, do they move somewhere else? Or do they like finish what they had, like finish unfinished business, and then like where do they go after that? Like what happens?
Mm-hmm. I love it. All right, Connie, are you ready?
Yeah, I hope I have the same questions because I was prepping my answers in my head too.
Okay, you do the same questions. Number one, can cats sense paranormal activity?
Yeah, all animals can. I believe that.
How would you describe the afterlife?
Like Seth, it's like kind of hard to describe. I don't know if there's like one specific answer for that, but like for me, it's more of like I think we just go to a void and like just bop around until we're bored and we want to just not be around. I guess I don't know.
Yeah. Now, top 3 pieces of paranormal equipment.
Um, I love the static cams and like any sort of like static audio. Like I'm considering like static camera audio like together. I think those are like a big piece of investigating just to have like a constant loop of like what's going on. The spirit box, that one is super cool. Just being able to like only focus in, like put the headphones in and just like listen and like not worry about anything else. That's really cool. And like hearing people's responses with that as well. And then the third piece, this was one of my favorites. It was the dictionary mode box thing, Brian. I don't know if you remember the name of that.
Yeah, Oculus, whatever.
That one was so cool. That one was so much fun. And like, because sometimes it would just spit out like random words that would make no sense. But like, when it was like on top of it, like you would get intelligent responses, like really like you could have like a legit conversation with someone. And then an honorable mention to Boo Buddy, because I just love Boo Buddy.
Boo Buddy is a very interesting piece of equipment. You've done about 30 investigations. What's your favorite investigation and why?
I would have to say Fairfield, just because it's such a big place. You can literally spend like a whole week there and like get so much different activity. But also, Auglaize Village is also really cool, just because it's like this huge village, like a whole bunch of buildings, like in this multiple acre facility.
Yeah, I agree, Seth. I can't wait until you can go. It's gonna be beautiful and hopefully not cold. um, Especially for like new people. I mean, how do you deal with anxiety of like a new place, new people? You know, when you go on these paranormal investigations.
Yeah, so I take that as just going in with an open mind and just trying to, while you want to stay grounded, you want to be serious, you want to like understand like why we're doing this paranormal investigation. You also want to make sure you're taking a story back with you of like why you did this and like bringing like some sort of like self purpose of like why you're doing this, why you're enjoying this, and like trying to make that connection, whether it's with the group, with the team that you're with, or with the location itself. Like, does like the area have like some sort of meaning to it?
Yeah. Now, favorite investigation role and why?
I love being the recorder because I can sit there and write my stream of consciousness, like as like the EVP session is going on, or while someone's out in like a different room and they're just like spitting out words from the spirit box. I can like write down what they're saying and be like, oh, this makes like we're talking about like such and such event happened. They're talking about like the same event and they can't hear us at all. And that's like really cool, like being able to write that down.
Yeah. Now, if you got to create a haunted doll, what would it look like and what would it be called?
It would have like a soft body, like one of like the pillow dolls, but it would have very detailed like fingers and toes and like a very detailed face. And it would have like a, like not porcelain, but like a plastic face and like very detailed, but like no eyes or like nose or mouth, but it would have ears.
Okay.
And it would have like human like hair. And I would name it Susie, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Now, what's the first paranormal experience that you can remember?
It probably has to be, I was probably pretty young. I was probably like 12-ish. My sister was coming home one night and it was like the weekend, like it was the weekend or a weekday or something. I was laying down on my parents' couch and like my sister came home from work. She was working doing clinicals and stuff. Like I would always like hear her walk in and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up like not being home that night. She was elsewhere. Like she was like on a trip or something. Like I didn't even know like she wasn't even like in town. And I heard her come in and everything like normal and like close the door, go up the stairs, go down the stairs, everything like that. And like I thought it was her, but no one walked in the house. No one was walking around, and I was just sitting there watching TV, oblivious. I didn't even like think to like look behind me to say hi to my sister or anything. I just knew. I just thought it was her.
That's gross.
Yeah, I know it is.
What's the number one key to success in the paranormal field?
Like I said before, it's probably just coming in with an open mind and like trying to make that connection, whether it's to the team or to the location, of like just being open and like finding where you can like bring that connection of yourself to the team or whatever it may be, and like just trying to have fun with it as well.
Yeah. Scariest paranormal moment?
In or out of an investigation?
In.
Okay. In an investigation, at the time, it was probably at Madison Seminary. I was in the very, very top attic part. My cat just walked in the background of the video, and that scared me. I was like, oh no. I just saw the shadow pop up, and I was like, oh, this is it.
It's back.
So 3 of our team members were messing with the portal that we were having, trying to set it up, and I was watching the video camera, looking down the hallway, and I just saw this figure running at us. I'm just like, closing the camera, we're running, we're going, we ain't doing this.
We're out. If you had to create a new paranormal investigation role, what would it be?
I would say like a vibe checker, just like it could be like someone who already has like a role in place already, but it could be like someone who's like checking in with people, seeing how they're doing, how they're feeling, if they need anything, making sure they're just going well, because like sometimes investigations can get pretty emotional and you just want to make sure people are doing okay. Or they could be tired and like, do you need caffeine? Do you need a break? Do you need to like hang out for a second? Whatever it may be, just having someone to be that person to check in on others.
Yeah, we have the recorder do it just so they can record anything of like what's going on and like check in on them, and so they don't have to like announce it to everyone else. So there's that bias, but they can still be documented. Okay, that's so smart. Write that down, Seth. Write that down. What is your favorite investigation moment?
Seeing the doll fall over at Fairfield, like on camera, like replay, and the same thing that happened at Madison Seminary. Those 2 were pretty cool moments. But just like for the fun of it, like the fun moments, it was probably Dr. Z singing at Twin City Opera House on the stage and like doing like his whole like speeches and everything. That was so much fun. That was just like a fun moment.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And then in the paranormal field, it's full of unanswered questions. If you had one question answered, what would it be?
It would be like how or why like this happens, like how or why the paranormal exists.
That's smart, because that's also encompassing of like if it does exist, this is that. So I like that a lot. You both survived the abyss. I'll actually run through mine, and I never ever do this, but I'll try and go quick. Can cats sense the paranormal? I'm gonna say yes. My own experience is my dogs. My dogs definitely do, so I'm assuming that it just goes along with other animals. How would you describe the afterlife? I don't really know, but I don't know. Dang, I didn't actually think about these. Oh man, I don't know. I guess like if you're here, you're here for a reason. You've got crisis apparitions, people coming to you in dreams or just in real life saying everything's going to be okay. When they just passed or they're about to pass or they recently passed that you didn't know, etc. Um, I'd say that they are in heaven in some capacity, watching down on you, or on earth if there's unfinished business, something that they gotta tell you. Top three pieces of paranormal equipment: audio recorder, a spirit box or portal. I would I would like a portal that works, so like it just like everyone can hear it, and a video camera. I don't think you need much more than that. Like a video camera, it's really all you need. But if you have it kind of is an audio recorder. I'd say video camera, portal. I'll say audio recorder. I don't know. Favorite investigation and why? I'd say this last one at Fairfield, just because of the people, all the crazy things we did there, all the crazy stuff we got. But runners up is a steamship, Oglaze Village, Moundsville is beautiful, man.
Yeah.
And there's actually so much stuff. I've been harassing Bravin now. Gotta get back on it. Gotta get back on these investigations. How do you deal with the anxiety of a new place and new people? New place, just go and enjoy it. And if you have any anxiety about it, you can always do research history. New people. So like, I don't really get anxious about meeting new people. I sometimes get anxious if people don't understand the roles, or if they're going to be anxious or nervous, or how well they're going to fit in with the group. Um, I usually just share my concerns with the rest of the high-end leaders of the group, and just me letting other people know that I might be a little concerned that someone might need extra time learning a role, or someone might not fit into too well, so we gotta put extra attention on them to make sure that they feel fit in, and that they're doing well. Usually if I tell people and I communicate, that's the best way to deal with that. Favorite investigation role? I do a lot of EVP tech. I think the camera operator is the most fun, but I feel like if you're a team captain, the EVP tech has the most leverage. I think there's a leverage disparity if you're the team captain but not the EVP tech. But it's fine. I would say camera operator. I love them all. I love recording. People that don't tag themselves, you get to write it down. I don't know. I'll say camera operator. If you had to create a haunted doll, what would it look like and what would it be called? It'd be called Jerry, and it would be like this weird doll that's got chains around its arms. It's got like no eyes, and it's like trapped in a mirror or something. First ever paranormal investigation. I don't remember my first one, but I'll tell you the first one outside of investigations. I think I've done 2 or 3. Honestly, I think I did one. I think I did Mansfield, and then I went on one, and I came back to. It was over summer break. I was running with Coach Joe and Drew and our friend Mario, and it was just Drew and I, and we were waiting for the other 2 to finish up working at Panera. I showed Drew the Russian sleep experiment, and then we went over to the other side of the track and we sat on a concession stand, and we were doing like a mini EVP session. And we kept hearing this noise coming closer to us, and then like, hey, if it really was you, can you make it louder or closer to us? It kept coming closer, and then it was as if someone was in the confession or the concession stands. Both hands smashed on the metal gate, and it was so loud and it scared us. It was hilarious. It was beautiful. Say your protections before and after, because I didn't that night. So R.I.P. me. What's the number one key to success? Oh man, the locations are hit and miss. Even a great location is sometimes slow. The number one key to success is the people that you do this with. I know that you might be very interested or curious about the paranormal. I know you might be involved in the paranormal field right now. It's all about the people. The number one thing that makes the difference between like the number one thing that is the difference. It's not the location; it's the people that you're with that make it a good investigation. You can have a killer place, but if the people are bad or you're not vibing with them, it's not a good time. Scariest paranormal moment. I'll say two of them. One at Madison Seminary. The second night that we were sleeping there, we were in the air mattress, and the bear got knocked over. Something about a bride's finger or something, and someone was walking around outside, and then something kicked the air mattress right next to my feet 3 times. I'm like, dude, there's infinite amount of numbers in the universe, and you have to kick my air mattress right next to my feet 3 times. Like, that's not a good sign, homie. Like, you can't be doing that. The other time was I was at an old nunnery, and we were hearing crawling around on the walls and the ceiling, and just hearing like the sounds of hell and women screaming in the distance. Like, that wasn't good. If I had to create a new role, why do I do this to myself? I don't even know. That's pretty darn concrete. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back for that one. I think any other additions could be added to the same roles: photographer, EVP tech, recorder, camera operator, and static tech. Favorite investigation moment? Fairfield. It was really as if the spirits that we were trying to contact were hiding, and we were going out there and seeking. And I'll tell you what, that was absolutely one of my favorite moments. It's either that or any of the performances that our members have had to try to generate experiences. So whether it was the haunted hide and seek, if that's what you want to call it, because all we were doing was looking for ghosts. You know what I mean? But like that, or the member presentations. I mean, those are the most memorable. The paranormal field is full of unanswered questions. Yeah, I would just want to know concrete how the afterlife works. Everyone's got a lot of different opinions and answers that are backed up by their own research, but I want to know how it is. Here's a perspective on that by Prefer Anonymous. When you die, your body becomes mommy for 3 days. Your soul will be ready to launch the space. A couple years, your soul will return to Earth whenever you're ready to come back. Eternal life. So like, stay here for about 3 days and then go up to quote unquote heaven or space, and then when you're ready to come back to the Earth. That's cool. Thank you, Dr. Z. Thank you, Orbs. Appreciate that. And again, hello, Gloria. Now, does anyone have any pressing topics before we go to the next segment? Anything we need to cover?
I don't think so.
Beautiful. So this is the part of the podcast where... You all right?
Yeah, my cats are just playing. They just started punching each other right next to me, so I was just like, "Oh, don't get angry while I'm on a podcast, please."
Oh, that makes sense. It's part of the podcast where we go, give me some context. So I'm gonna throw a picture up, and it
Don't you dare.
Seth, I have been so busy. I don't have any of the new stuff. I'm sorry. I don't have any of the new stuff. So like, you can breathe easy, Seth. I would never do. First off, I'd never do that. Anyways, I'm gonna throw some pictures up here, and you're just gonna give me some context. It might be only Connie could give me some context, maybe just Seth, or maybe both of you. So let's begin.
Moose Lee.
Okay, Connie, what's going on in this photo?
So I don't know what paranormal location that's at, but I know that's Moose Lee, who's one of our dolls that we occasionally bring into investigations. I know, Brian, you bought one after seeing it at a private residence, and you're just like, oh, this is so cool, and you carried it around the private residence, and then a couple weeks later you bought it yourself too at, what was it, like Walmart or Target or something. And so now that's one of our regular dolls that we bring onto investigations these days. Not the one at the private residence, the one that we bought.
Yeah. So ours got like effed up, which is why we don't typically bring it around too much. But this is actually the original Moose Lee. And Seth, this is at Brian's house. And this is Brian and Becca's house. That is the original Moose Lee, and that thing would move around. So like Brian would be playing on his computer, and it was in the kitchen, and he turned around, and it was like, Moose Lee had his back to him like normal. It's fine. Like an hour goes by, he turns around, and it's staring right at him, and he's like, "Oh, that's really weird." And then like how gaming goes. An hour later, turns around, it's closer to him. He's like, "Oh, I need to move this thing." It would move around, and that's actually at the investigation. That is Moose Lee. We do have one. It is in our basement. It's just from like the wear and tear of travel. Like this Moose Lee doesn't travel, so it's in perfect condition. Our Moose Lee got so messed up.
Didn't the Moose Lee at Brian and Becca's, didn't on one of the investigations it moved on like the investigation too?
I think so. I don't know if we had it on camera, but
Because
it
we didn't have
definitely
static
moved.
cameras, but we were just like, no one touched it and it was in a different spot.
Yeah, I think we have photos, but we'll have to look.
Yeah.
How about this one?
Is that the nunnery?
It is the nunnery.
That's
This is. You don't recognize this head?
I thought it was the nunnery, but I'm trying to think of what like hallway it is.
It's the school building of the nunnery to the small right. And I don't know if this was during the day. This had to be like sunset because it was a beautiful photo. This is like the calm before the storm, right before it gets dark and disgusting. What about this one? Anyone got some context here?
Yeah, that's Nick, and our whole group is gathered on the floor. I think it was like a basketball court floor of a gymnasium in the Middle Point School, and this is moments before Dr. Z gave us a phenomenal performance on stage.
Correct. This was beautiful. I honestly think he might have already started because Bravin is loving the fact that Nick was so scared, and Nick looks sincerely concerned right here. What about this? What's going on here?
Oh, that was my last visit at the nunnery. I think it was, the last time I was there. And that's Alex, another person from our old group, Brian. And we're setting up the spirit box back in like the gym in the new school behind like the old confessional booths, because we were getting a lot of different activity back there and a lot of good spirit box responses.
What about here? What's What do we got going on here?
So that's at the Broadwell Funeral Home. And the funny thing about this is actually the garage that was next to the house. And while we were receiving the tour, we were about to be all wrapped up. And Ryan, you actually asked, like, is there any way we could, go sit in the garage? He's like, oh, sure, there ain't much in there. And we go in here, and there's all kinds of classic cars, and here's this old school fire truck, and I'm just blown away. That's me. I'm blown away. But he was just keeping this from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't believe he almost left without showing us. So, what is this?
If I could breathe. That's Oglay's Village. It had to be like close to like 3 a.m. We were sleeping over. I was so cold. I had like 3 layers of pants and like 5 layers of sweatshirts and hoodies and like 8 pairs of socks on, and it was wet too.
Seth, this place, I can't wait for you to go. It's actually so stupid insane. It's so large. There's so many. We had so much time. We couldn't go to every building. It was wild.
And we were sleeping there. Like, that's how massive this place is. It's acres upon acres, and we were just out there exploring, trying to figure out what's our best plan of attack. Like, what do we want to do? Like, what are the feelings?
Yeah, it's insane. You're gonna love it. So what do we got here?
That's in the basement of the Broadwell Funeral Home. And I think this is before we were setting up to use the spirit box, if I remember correctly.
Uh-huh.
But if you can, I don't know if you can see, but it's like right in the middle of the photo. That's one of the static cams that we have set up.
Mm-hmm.
It's on I don't know. That was a really neat location.
Yeah, and that's where the bucket was that they said, like, someone was sitting on it and some spirit knocked it out from under his butt and he fell and he ran out, left all of his equipment.
That's right.
So what's this?
Where is that? Madison Seminary?
Yeah.
I think we were like at home base, and that's Amber, another one of our members from the old college group and everything. And this was like one of the first Your Paranormal Investigations that I was on. I think it was I've only been on one other investigation before this one, and no, this was my first one in like years, my first investigation in years, and I was just having the time of my life trying to hype everybody up because it was cold, and I was just like, let's go.
You're not wrong. It's all of Broadwell.
Why? You guys always blind me with the photographs.
What's going on here, man?
But I'm sitting in one of those classic cars that were in the garage of the Broadwell Funeral Home. Apparently, allegedly, there was somebody else that had investigated before, and they had somebody there that had said that the car, I believe the name, it belonged to somebody. I think it was Charlie, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
They said that Charlie didn't like anybody being in the car or touching the steering wheel. So I said, okay, I'm going to climb in the car and touch the steering wheel. And that's what happened.
Then you're kind of meowed. All right, here's the last one. What do we got going on here?
That's also at the nunnery. That was so at the nunnery. There's these tunnels, aka crawl spaces, to go to like the service stuff. It's not for normal use. It's for like mechanical use and engineers to like heat the buildings. I don't know why we were going in the tunnels, but that was after the tunnels.
That's right, Becca. I gotta pull it off. Okay. And Becca, Gloria, anyone, if you have any questions, go ahead and drop it in the comments here, and we'll go ahead and answer them for you. Still part of the where we're just gonna take some questions as well. What when you look at when you're writing down all of your paranormal investigation experiences, what happened at the location, this, that. Before, I like people to like write out their goals. For example, my goal is to help people start and grow their paranormal adventure. And of course, do as many investigations as I can, make as many memories, create as much magic as I can. But for some people, let's just say they lost a loved one and they want to prove that the afterlife is real. Say, hey, I lost my grandfather. He was really close to me. And I've noticed some weird stuff. I want to know if the afterlife is real. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to start my paranormal adventure. I'm going to go to these locations. I'm going to see if, the afterlife does exist. And then you would also write what it would take to achieve that goal. Like, I want to know if the afterlife exists because, I love my grandfather. I want to know. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to increase my sample size of paranormal investigations. And if I really saw an apparition, or if I really got touched on multiple occasions, maybe that would prove the afterlife to me. In terms of your goals, what you're trying to get out of the paranormal, and like what it would take for you to realize that goal, what's kind of your thought process for your goal planning for the paranormal? We'll start with you, Connie.
Yeah, so my goals for the investigations are a little bit different from like what you described, because like I've always believed in like ghosts. Like it's just always been in my mindset, like the paranormal, ghosts, spirits, afterlife. It's just always been a thing. Like I don't know why. It's just always has been. Like I'm just like, yeah, ghosts are real. Like I was 7 years old and like the teachers be like, oh, are ghosts real? And I'd be like, yeah, they are. And they're like, no, they're fake. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Like you're
Yeah.
lame. So I use these paranormal investigations as a way to understand what's going on and like try to get an answer. And even though like I know like in my lifetime I'm probably never going to get an answer of like what actually is happening during these investigations, but regardless, I want to leave with memories and with friendships and new relationships and like meeting new people and having all these experiences.
Yeah. And what about you, Seth?
For me, and like initially, I kind of went in there a little skeptical, and I didn't really know exactly what to expect. But after going to my first investigation, I kind of started to like ask myself, all right, like if things are happening, that means that there's something going on that's like beyond us, like something's happening on a almost a higher plane of like what happens to us after we die, and it kind of helps like answer some questions that you might have had about what's going on, like where do we go, and I'm completely convinced that in one way or another we just remain as energy and we're able to interact with people as a whole, and what happens after that I don't know if we'll ever figure that one out.
Yeah. It's wild stuff. I that's why I like to keep track of everyone's like number of investigations and their roles and everything, because to me it's like really the only way to like track everything, because there's some groups it's like how many investigations you've been on, and like they don't know, they're like a lot, and I'm like every one of them should be celebrated and everyone should count, and I don't know, it's that to me is growing the sample size and having them write everything down. That's what I want to do. That's like the kind of impact I want to make. But as we start wrapping up here, I guess one other topic, and then I mean, if you guys want to introduce anything, you can. Do you think Was
Sorry,
that
my cat.
the cat again? How do you know, like, when you're talking with some kind of regular spirit versus like a demon or some kind of something demonic or inhuman? And do you think we've ever run across that? Go ahead, Seth.
I don't. I don't think we've necessarily run into anything that was demonic or anything like that. But we definitely ran into something that had some very negative experiences in their life, and we kind of had that reflected in what we experienced on the top floor of the Fairfield County Infirmary. Just being up in there, you could tell that there was just a lot of negative energy. We were getting feedbacks from the portal box and the spirit box that that there were just. I mean, you could just being there, you could tell there was just a lot of bad things that happened up there, and it was just reflected in like the sounds and the answers to some of the questions that we had, and just the atmosphere itself.
Yeah. And then what about you, Connie?
Yeah, like Seth said, like I don't think like in my 30 plus paranormal investigations, like I don't think I've ever ran into anything like demonic or inhuman or anything that's like not a normal quote unquote spirit. Um, there have definitely been like negative moments where like I'm just like this does not feel right. This does not feel okay. Like they don't want us like in the spot. They don't want to talk with us. They don't want to interact with us, and like a lot of it has to do with like the energy that was there when they were living and around that area. Like obviously someone being locked up in a dungeon just for being who they are, that's obviously like not okay. Like that's going to bring in negative energy. Whereas like if you're in like a childhood home, like a happy family place, like you're going to find like that happy family vibe. So
Yeah.
that's how I'm like, that's how I like view my investigations with that.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because a lot of people feel like sometimes there are inhuman or something demonic or something, bad. Um, it's very interesting to hear their perspective and carry on. I'd say, we might have run across something, but it never like did anything crazy to us. Though it is weird that one of our members just like habitually gets scratched, or even like Drew on the first Your Paranormal Investigation, scratched. Set out my back, looked, there's a scratch. It looked deep. 1 hour later, gone. We had pictures and everything. It was so wild. RIP Drew. It's wild.
He's still alive.
He is still alive.
Not technically RIP, but RIP to his back during that moment.
Yeah. Or, you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of deal. What do you guys want to do? Like moving forward, like, is there any, like, for the year 2022, want to have you guys back on, maybe have some more Your Paranormal members on here. Maybe we'll have a big group session or something. It's just some like open dialogue where we're talking about, hey guys, what do you feel about skinwalkers? Or like, what's your opinion on shadow people? What's your opinion on the knock test or the flashlight test? How valid is it? This, that. One for 2022, what locate, or 2022, 2023, like in the next year or two, what are some of the locations that you're looking forward to that you want to go to, and who do you want to have on the podcast as like a big Your Paranormal group?
I definitely think we should get Dr. Z on here.
I think so too. I really wanted him on here, but I know that it was a very exhausting weekend. I don't know how we're still doing this right now. Seth and I are so burnt from investigations and driving, and so is Connie. But yeah, Dr. Z, who else?
I think we should get Drew on here as well. I don't know if he's been on here yet, but I think we should.
He hasn't, man. And,
Really?
you know, he's a little shy, man. He's a little shy. You know, he talks the talk, man. He's got to walk the walk.
Bravin, he was on before, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Got to bring him back.
revamp.
Yeah, Camden was killer on the investigation.
Yeah.
Honestly, like if we had like the Fairfield Infirmary crew, that'd be cool. Who else?
I was gonna say Brian Cunningham. That's a Fairfield Infirmary crew.
Got to get the Cunninghams. You know, Becca will join in. I'll put a camera on Barb. We'll see. Seth, if you haven't, I'll send you a link to it. You have to go watch this Our Paranormal Podcast episode where when we lost Barb, Joe from Para Oddities got him, and got her. He runs like a haunted museum in New York, and the stories about that doll are wild. You're actually gonna be blown away. It's hilarious. I'll send you that. But yeah, I'm excited. I mean, anyone from your paranormal big group would be huge. Probably not gonna do the Into the Abyss. There'd be too many people. I've done it in the past, and if we have a whole bunch, that'd be wild. But having like we'll just get some topics down, and we'll just write, and we'll just all start jabbing in here and there of skinwalkers, shadow creatures, and whatnot. But I'm pretty burnt from these investigations. Does anyone else have any other topics or anything that you want to plug, or anything you want to?
I don't think I have anything.
Connie?
I'm private on all social media, so don't try to find me because you're not going to. But shop local and be well, I guess. I don't know. I think those are keywords.
Yes. So if you wanna follow Seth and Connie's paranormal adventures, you can watch their paranormal group. It's called Your Paranormal. It's one word. There's going to be more content out there, more photos, more videos of evidence, more video photos of just our adventures, and of course Scary Game Saturdays, all that good stuff. As a little outro, I'll play the doll falling over one more time, and then I'll cut it right to the outro. Did you guys have anything else to say?
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Again, a big thank you from me and Sean. Again, Sean is just taking some time to himself right now. Maybe just a few weeks, and he'll be back. So get excited for that. We all wish him well. And we appreciate everyone for watching or listening on the podcast here. And we're going to show this last 30-second clip again. We'll go to the outro. Again, everyone have a safe and blessed week. Hopefully this helped kickstart your week. And you just get well rested for Monday. And you take care, everyone. Thank you so much.
In there, because none of us noticed it was on the ground until we were done. I even picked up the doll from right next to it. Afterwards. No one noticed.
The flashlight on and we didn't see it.
No. How did it happen right when I turned it off? Oh, you turned it off!
This paranormal adventure that we're all on, it connects us. This is our paranormal community. This is Our Paranormal Podcast with your host, Sean Gilmore.
He's worked in the paranormal field for 10 years.
He was featured on the TV show Paranormal Survivor that airs on Travel Channel.
His passion is creating para-unity.
With your host, Brian Mursell.
He's worked in the paranormal
He wants to help people start their paranormal adventure or grow their existing one. This is our paranormal adventure. This is our paranormal community. This is our paranormal podcast.
It's about supporting. It's about making Paraunity a real thing, because we all need to support each other within our community. And that's what the show has always been about.